Hi there, my name is Mariana Zion, and it's nice to meet you all. My topic is to discuss about the coral reef's importance and why they are vital to life. So, what is coral? What does it look like? Why should I care if it even exists or not? These are the questions that we're going to try and answer so that we can fully grasp the impact that coral has on life. So, what exactly is coral? In shorter terms, it's a small sea animal that attaches itself to rocks in warm waters. There's these things called coral polyps that can create hard-like skeletons that join together and create giant groups, which are then called coral reefs. Now, what exactly does healthy coral look like? So this is exactly what healthy coral is supposed to look like. It comes in a variety of colors, shades, and shapes, and is home to a huge number of marine life such as clownfish, eels, jellyfish, sea stars, and sponges, as well as crustaceans. Now, why is biodiversity important? Why should we care if we have abundance in ecosystems? Well, for starters, it's an essential process that supports all life on Earth, including us humans. Because we, like the rest of the organisms that are living, cannot have healthily maintained ecosystems without the aid in biodiversity. Some of the very basic needs for humans is obtained from ecosystems that are food, shelter, medicinal needs, and fuel, also including natural defenses against hazardous incidents such as coastal erosion and inundation. I have a hard time pronouncing that word. In the medicinal sense, coral is used mainly for surgeons, sometimes as replacements for bone, used as calcium supplements for cancer patients, and even helps fight against heart disease. So, other than those benefits, why should we care? What difference would it make if we didn't have coral anymore from this point forward? Because they are important in aiding and maintaining essential services for both humans and biodiversity. Though reefs take up a minuscule portion of the ocean, they host millions of species from extinction. And this is not to mention that coral actually has a marginally beneficial factor for organisms, because they help give us over 70% of the air that we are currently breathing right now. And the reason it's able to do this is because corals contain these photosynthetic algae that's called zooxanthellae, which resides deep inside the tissues of them. So this really complex looking term is just the basic needs for coral survival. It helps it survive by bringing in food by technique of photosynthesis, which in return provides an encased, sheltered environment to help protect the coral itself against the elements. Another really beneficial thing about coral is that the algae produces oxygen and in return helps remove wastes and some pollutants. Even though humans can survive with much lower levels, we should be thanking coral for giving us the gift of oxygen that we are currently breathing. And sadly, because of climate change, there is a threat with coral bleaching, which is the leading loss of oxygen. Now, you may be thinking, what is coral bleaching? It's a process that comes marginally from climate change and affects the health of coral and makes it more susceptible to disease and even death. Corals can still survive even after being bleached, but they are very highly susceptible to death after this process is started. And this is what bleached coral looks like. This is a time lapse of the event so that you can witness what it looks like before and also see the aftermath of it all. The term bleached is used properly because, as you can see, the color fades away slowly over time until it gives this lifeless and really muted look. And here's the really saddening thing of it all. Even if there was no more pollutants in the air or in the ocean, if climate change was a thing from the past, if there was no more toxic waste inside the oceans, and there were no outside interferences that were physically harming the coral itself, it would still take the bleached coral at least 9 to 12 years to recover from all the intense amount of damage that was done to the reefs. These next clips that I'm showing you is our future if we do absolutely nothing to fix the damage that we have caused. This is what climate change will do to the Earth itself if we do no changes in our actions, and as you can see, over time, our planet is going to get hotter and will eventually crumble beneath itself. And this next clip is going to show you the US and how climate change is affecting the US itself. And as you can see from the 70s to, earlier of last year, you have seen dramatic differences in temperature. Each passing decade that is visibly shown here is creating more and more damage as the years go by. And it's scary to think that instead of it being years for the impacts to happen, is that it's actually happening right now as we speak. Which is why we can't just stand by and expect people to do it for us. We need to step in and fix the issues that we have caused ourselves. So what can I do in aiding the growth of coral reefs and maybe even take preventative measures against climate change? Recycling, for starters, helps tremendously by reducing gas emissions, which then also helps reduce energy consumption, which is the leading cause of climate change. Also, try to keep a mindful eye on your surroundings. If you see any garbage lying around, pick it up. Try to make good habits of picking up trash that you see as you walk by or live your life. Because there is a huge amount of waste that pollutes the oceans, and which then makes corals more vulnerable to fatal diseases. Another thing you can do is by using non-invasive and non-toxic products. By using toxic chemicals, you are hindering yours and the ecosystem's ability to adapt and to change to temperatures. This happens because the toxins disrupt the endocrine system, which makes it a lot harder to adapt. Anything that is toxic waste is harmful to everything that is living, and that includes you, animals, plants, and the environment as a whole, and is being absorbed and consumed on the daily, which affects our physical well-being. Some severe but general forms of environmental factors that we pursue are overfishing, overprotection in coffee farms and farming in general. Drivers also release 3.3 trillion pounds of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere every year. Postage is an issue because we throw away over 4.3 million tons of junk mail every year, which is a wasteful amount of tree loss. It's also estimated that at least 14 million tons of new plastic is thrown in the ocean every year. Houses' heating units release harmful combustion byproducts that release carbon monoxide into the air. And 1.2 trillion gallons of waste is dumped into the U.S. waters, as well as, finally, every year 15 billion trees are chopped down and have caused severe deforestation. There's also other products that we use on the daily that affect the environment, such as some cleaning products such as Lysol and bleach. Sunscreen has a certain chemical that is directly and highly toxic to marine life and coral reefs. Menstrual products are used with plastics that have a harder time to decompose. Detergent is bad for the environment because they aren't completely biodegradable and contaminate water supplies. Similarly with tea bags, they are made with plastics that are hard to decompose as well. So all of these are toxins that eventually make its way into polluting the surrounding environments and thus soon the ocean itself. So you can't just think to yourself, well, that's a problem for the next generation. No, it's a problem for you. And we are living oblivious witnesses to the damage that was done and continue to do with the actions that you take. The actions that you can take can change the world for tomorrow.